Buenas noches. Que Dios los bendiga y que gracias por estar aquí esta noche. Es muy especial este evento esta noche en muchas diferentes maneras, pero últimamente quiero decirles gracias por estar aquí. Y for those of you that are Spanish impaired, it's a bilingual event. Don't worry. The following land acknowledgement is provided courtesy of the Education Northwest. We are standing on the ancestral lands of tribal nations and their citizens. We pay respect to their elders, past and present. In Los Angeles specifically, we recognize that we are occupying land that belongs to the Tongva, the Tataviam, and the Chumash peoples. Please take a moment to consider the many legacies of violence, displacement, migration, and settlement that bring us together here today. And please join us in uncovering such truths at any and all public events. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival's 20th anniversary, and thank you very much for making it one of the most successful events we've ever had. This is our closing night, and it's a memorable one. It's going to be one of the best we've had. You see a lot of empty seats. That's because of COVID. We were not able to fill. We could have sold this theater out 3 times over. I have a lot of friends who don't like me right now because I'm going to let them sit in the empty seats. They say, oh, there's a couple empty seats, man. Yeah, there's a lot of them, but that's the rules. And I thank you all for participating and becoming part of those rules. First, I would like to announce, really quickly, the short film winners from today's LALIFF Awards brunch. The awardees will receive finishing services and DCP creation by Photochem. Our jury was made up of industry professionals Jackie Cruz, Amanda Trocan, and Edson Jean. Best live action short film went to Águilas by Christie Rivera Flanagan and Maite Upaura. Best direction of a live action short film went to Gabriela Ortega, director of In Case I Asked. The best animated short film will receive Storyboard Pro license presented by Toon Boom. This jury was made up of industry professionals such as Manny Hernandez, Carlos Zaragoza, Doreen Spicer Danley. Best animated short film went to Nuevo Rico by Christine Mercado. A special jury recognition for innovative storytelling went to Revolicus by Victor Orozco Ramirez. These short films were priceless. If you didn't see them, we showed 9 of them just at 3 o'clock. It was just amazing. The work that's been done by our filmmakers and all of the filmmakers that are going to be giving us more films throughout the duration of our lifetime. All I can say is that this film festival is here because of all of you. Many of you have been here since the conception. You walk up to me and you cry because you say, man, I can't believe that you're doing it. I mean, this is the first event in Los Angeles and Hollywood of this type, opening a theater. They open these theaters for us. And I really thank TCL for giving us the opportunity. It's the Grauman's Chinese Theater and this complex right here. So let's hear it for TCL for giving us that opportunity. The reason we're all here is because we like to watch movies. And the reason that our festival this year, like I said, was unbelievable was because of the programming. The key to any film festival is the films that you show. And tonight, ladies and gentlemen, you picked a good night to come. The closer tonight is unbelievable. And we're very honored to have some extraordinary stars here from the show. And to introduce the film tonight, or actually to introduce the filmmakers, I'd like to bring up the person who actually is our program director and the person who artistically directs all of LALIFF, and that's Diana Calavid. Diana.
Thank you so much, Mr. Olmos, not only because of that introduction, but because of this space, this platform, that we know it's here because of your efforts, so thank you so much. And 2020 has been a remarkable year for our festival. Your support, both virtually and in person, has been huge, and the response to the program overwhelmingly positive. We continue to demonstrate to the world that we are fantastic creators and that the festival is a strong and important platform in the cultural and entertainment industries. That is why it is such an honor to be closing the festival with a film that is really close to our hearts. This is a film by a truly visionary filmmaker. It is full of a fantastic feminine energy that I think you'll all feel while watching it. I absolutely fell in love with the candidness on the way it approaches its subject matter. And I am so thrilled to be right now introducing it to you. Please join me in welcoming the director of the film, Lissette Feliciano.
Well, that's right. Hello, everybody. Good evening. Buenas noches. My name is Lissette Feliciano. I'm the writer-director of this movie called Women as Losers, which is very, very close to my heart. First of all, I want to thank, of course, Mr. Edward James Olmos for standing for us for all these years and making sure that we were seen. As a little girl, I always had him to look up to when I wanted to be in this industry. I also want to thank Diana Calavid for programming us and just being an all-around badass. Oh, I'm sorry. Rafael Agustin, Bodhi. Thank you, Bodhi, so much. I have a list, guys. I'm sorry. It took me 9 years to get here, so just give me a few minutes. Johanna, Connie, thank you so much. Brian, Sherry, and all of the volunteers. Let's give a round of applause for the volunteers. Just excellence. I made the film, the genesis of the film was a conversation with my mother, who's sitting here in the audience. Okay. So I've been trying to make it in Hollywood for a little while, and it was, the numbers aren't great when you come in this package. And I had to go home after a certain time and tell my mom that I didn't think this was for me. It wasn't working, and I wasn't exactly sure why. And I don't know what it was about this conversation, Mommy, or this one time that you wanted to tell me this, but she sat me down and she told me her story, which she never shared with me before, about what she went through in the 60s and 70s trying to make it as a woman of color in the real estate industry. And what struck me was how similar what she was saying happened to her was to what I was telling her I was going through. And it was very sad, but also very funny and kind of absurd. So this conversation really stuck with me, and I wanted to share it. And that is the movie that you're about to see. And I want to introduce my cast now and have them come down and say hello, because this is not an easy movie to say yes to. They really came and brought it their all. Yes, please come down. They gave it everything. It was a labor of love for sure. Freezing in San Francisco, and I just want you guys to get to meet them. I also have to thank a few people that are in the audience. First and foremost, David Ortiz, which I don't know where he is. Woo! hiding.
Oh, boy.
I was hiding. David Ortiz is my producer, and he came into this. Thank you, Steven. You know that what you did, so thank you so much for standing for us. John Michael Powell, my editor, Brooks Robertson, who is our financier and stood next to us through all of this. It really is part of the reason why we're here. Adam Kershaw, thank you, babe, for everything. And without any further ado, I'm going to introduce you to this cast, who all had a version of this story to tell inside of themselves. And I think that's what you're about to see. So, Lorenza. Oh, yes, it is.
Oh, hi, everyone. I'm Lorenza, and I want to thank you. You made this possible. You told a story from the core and fought tooth, nail, blood, sweat, and tears, as we all did on set every day. And without you, this wouldn't be possible. So thank you.
My turn. I'm Stephen Bauer, and I fell into this sort of by accident in a way, but I did it because I received a little note from this little girl who was making a movie about her life, her mother's life, and it touched me, and I said, yeah, I want to be in it, and it was a beautiful experience. Great actors, great. This young man too. Yeah, he's in it. You're in the movie, okay? Yeah. You're bigger now. You're bigger, so you're allowed to watch it. But most importantly, Lissette brought this passion and this calm to the shooting of the movie, the filming, the directing of the scenes. That was very inspiring, and I've worked with a lot of directors on different levels, worked with a lot of independent young filmmakers, and she just had it. She just had that confidence, and I'm so happy and so honored to be part of this event tonight, because I know that it's the first time that audiences are seeing it on the big screen. All right? So this is a big deal. This is a big deal for her, and I just want to thank her, and you guys realize this is someone to watch out for.
Hi. My name is Chrissie Fit, and I play. Oh, hey. Thanks, Mom. I play Marty in the movie, and I just want to thank you so much for our conversations and for trusting me to tell the story of Marty, because there are so many Martys of the past, and they need to be honored and celebrated, and we never need to go back. Is what we can't do. You'll when you see the movie, guys. No spoilers. Now I'm going to introduce one of the stars here. Hello. Tell them your name and who you play. I'm Lincoln. Awesome. Who do you play in the movie?
Time.
Kristen.
There we go.
Yes. He's a transformational actor. He forgot the role already. Good job, bud.
Hey guys, I'm Bryan Craig. I have a little less hair in the movie than I do now, but I play Mateo. This was a very important story and project to Lissette, and it became a very important project to me as well. Once I read it, it was exactly what I wanted to do. I really wanted to do a raw story that had a lot into it, a lot behind it, a lot to say. And I just want to say I'm very thankful, because there was a very maternal feel on set with these women, and I was thrown into this, and I didn't even meet Lorenza, and we play husband and wife until the first day that we shot, which was like one of the hardest scenes to shoot. And if she wasn't so awesome, I wouldn't have been able to do that. Same with Lissette. I've never had a director rub my forehead to calm me down, and let me tell you, it really works. So, thank you guys for having me. Seriously, I have a lot of pride to be part of this project. So, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you guys. Enjoy the show, and I gotta say, how lucky did I get on my first time out? Míranos. I mean, thank you so much. And thank you for the honor.
Everybody get popcorn. This is a popcorn movie.
And have some fun. Okay.
And we'll see you at the end of the screening. Stick around so you can ask questions and we can have a nice conversation. Thank you.
And her fantastic cast and producer and everybody, please come here. That was wonderful. Congratulations, congratulations, Lorenza. This is so phenomenal. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having us. God, what a treat to get to watch it in this, with this crowd. Wow, thank you guys.
I mean, this is extremely emotional. I'm like having an amazing time, and seeing it on the big screen is just, again, so wonderful. And I wanted to start this conversation by bringing back something that Lissette mentioned at the introduction, when you were talking about, like the genesis of the story, when you had the conversation with your mom. And what you said is something that I think is like key. And although it is a period piece, like it's a film based in the 60s, 70s, this is so current, like this is such a relevant conversation at the time. And I wanted to have the opportunity to hear you all talk about the process of writing the script and making it, like this, but also what has been the response from like people who have seen it, when you guys have shared it with each other. Do you want to take that one?
Me? Okay. That's a big question. I think, the first time I read the script, that was my first reaction, was I can really relate to this for so many reasons on a personal level, for what my mother went through. She raised me on her own, and just having that multi-generational issue, that a story that was being told in the 60s, a person in 2019 was when we did the movie, could completely relate to that, and how frustrating that conversation that is ongoing and never ending still is happening. I mean, I see it with, my people who I work with, my coworkers, all the women that I talked to after this movie when we went to South by Southwest. The biggest talking point was, the first question in the interview would be, "Oh my God, I relate so much, can we talk?"
Yes.
And I'm like, yes, I think your point, I don't want to put words into our director, just to show that, and to show that frustrating cycle that we live in, that even though we've made so much way into changing that, it's been on us. We've been having to change the system. We women, we Latinas, it's been on us. No one has given us a hand. And the conversation is still about opening doors that didn't even exist before. In fact, we built them. So.
See, that's what I had to start. Yeah, for me I think I was so shocked that I didn't know anything about my history. And whether that's on purpose or not, when I started digging into where we came from and where we started, I felt a little less blind and a little bit less lost. And as soon as I kind of understood everything that we've been through, everything, Mommy, that you've been through, my family, and then I started talking to other people in my neighborhood, and men, women, everybody. And everybody, at first it was weird. At first nobody wanted to say anything. It was like, eso no se dice. And then I was like, because I'm a little pushy, I was like, no, but tell me.
And then they told me, and then the stories just kept coming out, one after the other, one after the other. And so reclaiming my history was what I wanted to do here, and really just put it to the forefront. Those fourth wall breaks are because of that, because we needed that conversation. I needed that conversation, and it even goes to, even our culture, like not knowing sometimes like the beauty and the power that comes from our culture. Only being told the bad statistics and not being really told about the excellence that's in our community. I mean, Rita Moreno's an EGOT winner. There's like 15 people on that list. You know what I mean? There's a lot of excellence in our community, and yeah, like she says in the beginning of the movie, we're gonna go back to show you how far we've come.
Chrissie, your role was so important, so fundamental to the film. And what you said, when we first started this conversation, was so important. And do you want to share a little bit of your experience?
Yeah, what I've received from this is so many people emotional and wanting to talk about the Marty that they knew in their life, and that has been a gift for me to hear these stories of these women and to honor them and to share in that grief. And I think that when we were making this movie, it was a time where we were very scared, our rights were under attack again, and it continues to happen. And so I was really drawn to working with a female director that had such a clear voice and wasn't afraid to talk about these issues that, like she said, our community doesn't really like to talk about, but it was really an honor to be able to bring her to life. And she was so full of life. It was beautiful to see that dancing and see how much promise she had, but because of something so tragic and not being able to have autonomy over your own body, her light was dimmed and ending out. So those stories need to be told, and we, like I said before, we can't go back.
Cannot.
Absolutely, and there's so many parts in the world where this conversation is also happening right now. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just wanted to say that I was raised by a single mom. She was married to my dad, but he was traveling. He was a pilot. Yeah, and he was an adventurer, let's just say. So I was raised by women, and mostly by my mom. My little brother and I were taken care of and nurtured by my mom. And that's the choice she made. She didn't throw him out until I was out of the house. We were growing up, and finally she got sick of it. But Bryan does a great job. He's beautiful in this. He's fantastic. Bryan Craig.
That's a big compliment.
So good. He's so good. And you want them to be together, but she has to make that choice. And the movie illustrates all that, all those situations that a lot of us have grown up with. We don't all grow up with two parents. And
No, that's absolutely true. There's something that I wanted to bring up, and it's that with such important, heavy subject matters like this way to tell stories, I enjoy a lot of the film is how clever it is on the way it jumps from the time jumps that shot of no, I don't know, people in the 2000s, I don't know, 2018, 1 second, on the streetcar. That was so fantastic, and I wanted to talk a little bit about the way in which you use the formal elements of cinema. to tell a story that is very heavy, but in a way that connects us because we all felt it. I felt the response of the audience. That was really cool, the editing, the whole montage, the use of music. It's really well done. Congratulations, and I wanna hear more about that creative process, from all of you, because I'm sure you all added into that.
Well, I also was a cinematographer. No, we had an amazing cinematographer. I wouldn't even be able to film anyone. I'd be like, oh, this shot, the whole movie. Go ahead.
Look, that was, when you have this talent, it's like, my job's really easy, y'all. But for me, I always want to entertain first. I always want my movies to entertain you. I will try my best for as long as I get to have a career to entertain you first, elevate you, and hopefully influence in some way, shape, or form. But yeah, jumping around as much as we did, that was so important to the story because there was so much context and so much time that had to get covered to really tell the story that really Lorenza, you took on and told it for yourself. So I didn't want it to be a melodrama. I didn't want it to be a trauma drama either. We've had a lot of those. So I had to the pacing had to keep going. It had to, the dancing, and also because that's our spirit, isn't it? We're just very positive people, and we get thrown a lot of stuff, and we're still smiling, we're still pushing. I mean, our entire thing is pa'lante, that's,
But can you also talk about, we had 17 days to do this movie. That happened in 17 days.
For real?
Yeah. 17 days!
That is
17 days.
this poor little guy had his ears boxed in. He was like, please stop yelling. No, honestly, that opening scene, we had 6 hours for his first day.
That was Bryan's first scene.
Right. And he learned the script in 2 days because he just come off Grand Hotel. And we're just like, okay, jump in. You can start screaming at everybody. The dancing we shot.
Well, yeah, Lissette says,
Go for it.
I think we should have a dance.
Oh my God.
Choreographed dance. And we literally learned it the night before. Lorenza was filming a scene and running in during camera setups
To rehearse
to
with
learn
you.
the choreography.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it
Lissette,
really
thanks to you
was
for shooting me very tight on those scenes.
we all really had to come together in the spirit of Latinos, how we do
Pa'lante.
to make this movie. Yeah.
That would have never happened without this cast.
Y'all danced really well.
Thank
They
you.
did.
No, but I think, Lissette, to answer the question, for me, the smartest and coolest thing about this script, it was quite meta, right? It was an ambitious female director trying to make this film about this female trying to not cheat the system, but find her way, because it's a system that was set up for her to fail. So much of the parallels of choice and the choices that she's not allowed to have were so incredibly done with that device of breaking the fourth wall or using the black and white to tell the story of Simu's family. All of those moments, it was genius really, because we start out the movie saying, forgive us, we don't have enough resources. Why don't we have enough resource? Because of all these doors that have been closed for us. So that, for me, was the biggest thing about the script. Here she is coming up with the most ingenious meta way to explain how we're trying to make this movie. And every day it was exactly that.
And using film, right? Because I love that, because it's the same way in which her stories, or the stories of the characters in a way, are transcending barriers, going beyond. You also translate that into the actual making of the film, and I find that fascinating. I think it's really, really cool, and I don't know, I think it opens a lot of doors for how do we want to tell stories, have fun and use it all, Thank you. Yeah, everything Selena is going through in the movie is what we were going through behind the scenes, sometimes verbatim. I do just really quickly want to talk about the men in our story.
Of course.
I feel so thankful to Stephen and to Bryan and to Yumi.
Thank you.
You know, because they really can be our greatest allies. And you know, they came on and really supported us and you know, fell a little bit into the background, said, no, this is you guys' story, and that's so impactful for sure. And so like Bryan Craig, you guys know him, he's incredible, and Stephen Bauer, a legend, thank God, who showed up, and I was like, yeah, we're gonna do this, so thank you.
Lissette, this movie's gonna go far. It's gonna go around the world, and everybody's gonna see it. And you're gonna do more movies.
Thank you.
And we had a great cast, and this young lady is fantastic, and she's gonna do a lot of
Aren't they
movies.
amazing? One last thing, guys. I know I said David Ortiz and everybody clapped. There's a reason for that.
I wanna go to the party.
Yeah, we're gonna go to the party. But he came into this project almost at the end and was like, "What are you trying to do?" And I was like, "X, Y, Z, you know, 1,000." And he said, "All right, bet." And just, you know,
My friend's laughing.
because everyone knows, and just said, "Go for it." And that just that not second guessing, that absolute just go for it. That was so freeing, and you know that I owe you a lot. So thank you.
Please say something, okay?
I'll just share. So I've been mentored and supported by amazing women in Hollywood. Donna Langley, Randy Michelle.
Speak up.
I've been very fortunate to have been supported in Hollywood, and I had the unfortunate distinction of being the first Afro-Latino executive at Universal and Warner Brothers. And I don't, thank you. I don't say that to brag. I say that because it was, I felt like a burden during the time. And the woman who supported me was Donna Langley. And when I first met, in every meeting, I would always say, who do you want to be when you grow up? Say directors, actors. And I've heard every answer that you can think of, except that when I met Lissette, I said, who do you want to be? And she said, Donna Langley. And Donna's the chairman of Universal now. And I said, but Donna's not a filmmaker. Why Donna? She said, she's a fucking boss. Sorry. And I was like, oh, okay. So basically, I'm just here to support you and get the hell out of the way if I'm not useful. And so it's been a real privilege to have helped brought it to light. So thank you.
Well, we're glad.
And I just want you to explain the pregnancy shot where you got that idea, because that was what. I can be honest.
Yeah.
I didn't want to, but when that happened and Chrissie's scene, and I was like, oh damn, we're gonna watch a movie about a Latina pregnancy, because that's not my deal, and I don't know if I want to watch that movie. And 45 seconds later, Lorenza had the baby, and I was like, oh, okay, good. Okay, here we go. But then I asked Lissette at the end, there were a couple of shots that made me want to be involved. But I want you to tell that story if you would mind, please.
Yeah, also on the same night as the hospital, because we only had it for one night. I mean, we really went for it on this one. Does anybody remember America's Funniest Home Videos? True story, America's Funniest Home Videos. There was this one, I don't know, it was 7 or 8, and it was the first time I ever understood editing. The woman is holds a pregnancy test, and then she turns around, and she's a little bit bigger, and then she turns around again, she's a little bit bigger, and then she does it, and then last time she turns around, she has the baby, and my mind was blown. So this time I was like, oh, that's how we're gonna get out of this in 15 seconds, because I don't want her to be pregnant for the whole movie. So, you never know. There's inspiration everywhere.
You're talking to a superstar. When she remembers something 20 years later as a frame of reference and incorporates it into her first film, you're like, that's it, superstar. Gotta go.
That is so hilarious.
It's, I think we are all here and feeling this super nice energy of being back at the festivals, and I don't think the experience is going to be complete unless we hear from the audience. because we still need to follow like COVID standards, I would just ask if you have a question that you raise your hand, that you stand up and scream the question at us, and I'll repeat it so that everybody can hear it. Yeah, go ahead. You who are also part of this.
Some projects you do, either as a filmmaker, producer, director, talent, that you come out a different person when you're done. As a director, you have a vision, even as the actor and producer, you have a vision of what it's going to be like before you start, and what the challenges you have that it comes at the end, right? What was that? What was the evolution of this movie you had in your head?
So I'm just going to paraphrase, so for those of you who couldn't hear, I think the question would be if you can speak of the evolution of the film in your head from the moment it started, what you plan of, and to the moment you completed the film as the director.
In terms of the script and the film that you saw, it's pretty much the same. I mean, we didn't change anything or take any. We took away like 1 or 2 scenes, which was really hard. We took away 1 or 2 scenes, but yeah, I think what I had in my mind was something uplifting and bright and colorful and hopeful, and that had something to say. And I'm very happy with how it came out. I think the biggest change for me was, I wrote it hoping that it would be received well enough to attract this type of talent, to attract people that were really going to embody it and take it on and take the words and infuse it the way that they really lifted it, right? So I think so what I wrote is here, except elevated because of these people right here. Yes, the cheeky thing.
Didn't you write it in like a weekend?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I wrote it real fast. I was real mad.
Okay, go ahead, please, because I don't see you. I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing the film.
Thank you.
And I feel like you should also market, even though your cast is Latino, but even though I'm not a Latino person, I think your story touches each and every community. And I think right now is the right time to the Latino, but I think you should be green all over in America.
Thank you. That's by design, guys. That's by design. Like, I grew up in San Francisco. It's a melting pot. This is the most natural thing in the world to me. Like, the solidarity between our communities, African American, Asian American, Caucasian American, like female, all of that. Like, we're not that unique, quite frankly. I feel like we all have very similar stories and very similar things. And it does feel like the world's a little segregated right now. Like, you have a show that's just for the Asian Americans, you have a show that's just African Americans. And that's just not the world that I live in, and I wanted to show that world. So, it was really important to me to have the Asian American experience up here because I'm so inspired by them and everything that they did and continue to do. On that note, Simu Liu is the new Marvel superhero, so I want the entire Latino community September 3rd, butts in the seats, watching that.
Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings.
Yeah. So yeah, and then I actually want to hear from you guys how you feel about that.
That's a big one. No, I think you did exactly what you just said. I think it's a movie for anybody who can relate. Even me, as a young man, this was a very educational experience, and I think we talked about that because there were so many things I didn't know were happening back then and that are still happening today. And I think selfishly with my character, it was also shedding light on a lot of problems that young men have, having a kid so young, stepping up, doing all that type of thing. So I think it was very well-rounded, and I think it shines light on many different things. And as you said, the men are a smaller part of this movie. We're here to support the women, but it also does shine light on those situations as well. So, bravo to you, and
Bravo to you, bravo.
I think you did it beautifully.
Well said, well said.
There's one question back there.
Yeah.
I see you.
You who are the winners of the.
I think it can be really loud.
Yes!
Thank you.
My name is Kay. I'm a writer.
Hi, Kay.
And I think you did such a phenomenal job. As a woman, as a Black woman watching this film, I felt seen. And that's such a testament to your story writing, and the way that I think everyone mentioned how you touch these different communities. My question is, what inspired you to add the Loving v. Virginia with the Supreme Court case in there? Because I think that was such a, I think it was just every little element you had in there with everything worked. But I was just really curious about that.
I didn't hear the last one.
No, I'm just really curious about why you added the Supreme Court case as part of the.
Oh, the
At
end,
the very
the button?
end, like the rounding up of, yeah.
Yeah, do you want to take that one? Because you mentioned that. Okay.
You're wrong.
Yeah. Because at the time, that was going away for us while we, and you know, sometimes still is up for debate a little bit. So that really scared me. And I wanted it to end on again, on hope, right? So having that button and realizing that, you know, behind a lot of these laws and slogans, there's a Marty and a Selena that are living through whatever people are deciding for them. So having that button and then ending on the plane shot was really important to me because I wanted it to be about hope. I wanted it to be about the future. What kind of future are we trying to go for? And what kind of future are we leaving for our girls and for our young boys? What kind of options are we giving them? Right? Lorenza and I always talked about options in this movie. Like, if you only have bad options, you're going to make a bad decision. And so the bootstrap mentality feels a little bit flawed sometimes because we're all coming into the race with different levels of boots. And I just wanted to really explain that or show that and how it felt. And what did I think you had? Oh, okay, there you go. I don't think that answered that.
How about that? I mean, in general.
I could talk for hours.
Yeah. We have time for one more question up here at the very back.
Okay, so hopefully I can talk loud enough, but I think you did an amazing job with breaking the fourth wall, and that can be extremely tricky. My name is Nicole Serrato, by the way. I'm also a writer and director. So I was wondering, what challenges did you experience both in the writing and directing to make that work, and maybe even the editing? Because I could see that being a little like in most writings it's a little challenging, and you just did it so well, and it really added to the experience of the film for me. So.
Thank you. Like I said, I wrote it really fast. So most of those speeches were from more or less the first draft with a couple of changes here or there. Whatever like we felt when we were on set. It was like, okay, we want to add a line or change a line. Actually, that first monologue was like 2 minutes longer. That was probably the hardest thing to edit. So in the writing, it wasn't so hard because it just felt right. It just felt like a rhythm. I was like, okay, we're at this stage now. I need them to turn them out and like say this to people. And then I was like, well, are people not going to like that? Is that too much? And I had to turn that off, like turn that self-judge off and just say like, this has to come, this is just what it wants me to write, so I'm just going to write it and see where it goes. I think sometimes we judge ourselves a little bit too much on the devices, and are we too much like this, are we too much like this, versus like just trying to say what's in our hearts. So in the writing, it kind of came out. In the directing, in the making of it, I think for you guys, it was probably toughest, because that's when I realized, I was like, oh, that's a very, very long speech. When she's like doing that opening scene and she's taking her clothes off and changing and like flipping the hair, and we're doing it all in camera. And I remember Bryan standing over next to me, he goes, that's really fucking hard.
I said that again when we were watching the movie.
He
The
did.
full wardrobe change and speech, looking in the camera, that's hard.
Yeah, and she did, and I just was like, oh yeah, that's really hard. Maybe I should have trimmed that down a little bit. But she took it on just wonderfully. I think in the edit it was about pacing, right? Like I wanted it to stay entertaining. I wanted you to feel what Marty's feeling, what Lorenza's feeling, what Steven's feeling, what Little Man's feeling, and Bryan's feeling. So Dave and I had a lot of conversations about the scene breakdown and are we here for too long? Are we here for too? It just had to be very rhythmical and musical, and it just had to feel like, okay, we're at this stage now. Should we turn? This was the first time I've seen it with an audience ever in like 3 years. So hearing you guys laugh at all the places that I had hoped you laughed was such a gift. Thank you for that. Thank you.
Hey, is Eddie Olmos still here? Wow. I just wanted to thank you on behalf of us for introducing the film, for being here, and for always forever being so supportive of this. Thank you, Eddie. Edward James Olmos.
There's an episode, I'm a big Seinfeld fan, there's an episode of Seinfeld where George buys Elaine a salad and the girlfriend gets kind of credit for it. Lissette bought flowers for the cast, but obviously she's getting flowers also, but I don't want anyone to think I got them. Lissette got them.
So wonderful.
It's what we do in the theater, so I was like, "Great flowers."
¡Qué linda! I have to say, this is like really wonderful. I love this moment right now here. You're such a generous and beautiful team.
You know, we're Latin. Gifting each other flowers.
I mean, they gave me such a gift. This is amazing.
Thank you. You should
And
know.
LALIFF, you've given me such a gift to be able to present this, my first film, hopefully not my last, my first film at home with my community. I mean, that's on the book.
Lissette, let me just say this to all of us. I'm emotional. I cried during the movie. I felt very moved right now when Stephen called me out. And I say to all of you, especially the littlest one, this is a really memorable 20th anniversary for this LALIFF, Los Angeles Latino International Film Festival. And this film is exactly why we created this. This is her first film, and I gotta tell you, it was brilliant. Not good, brilliant. And you won't understand it until about 20 years from now, 30 years from now, when you see it again, and you say to yourself, wow, it really is a good movie. Bryan, you were phenomenal.
Thank you so much.
Brilliant performances on all you. Chrissie, honestly, just amazing performance. You were spot on with every single moment to moment that you placed. And your editing was superb. Really good. You know, and to do this in how many days? 17 days. Okay. You really start to realize what this is, and this is the premiere for an audience. This is it, and I begged them to stay. They were going to go off and eat and celebrate together as a group. I said, please, just watch it with the audience. If you've seen it with an audience, then go on and have dinner. But if you haven't, sit here, because when I saw it by myself on my little computer, I was overwhelmed by it. And you know, it was, I said, this is it. And Diane, I was so happy, because Diane gave it to us. Diane saw it and said, Eddie, you got to see this. And I said, I'd love to, and I saw it. So I say to you, you are the reason, the hope, you are the future, all of you. Including you, Stephen. It was a brilliant performance, Steve. A brilliant performance. I mean, I've seen you do a lot of work in my lifetime, but this was so ruggedly just flat out, and it was so honest that it becomes difficult, because it was a really dark character. And those are hard to play, because you really sink into it, and you find yourself saying, wow, what an ugly person I am. You know? But in the same way, what you've done, Stephen, is given us a perfect understanding. Perfect. And it really made the movie. You made the movie. And this little guy, you swept it. You swept it.
Right.
And to all of you that came tonight, to the closing festivities, the 20th anniversary, I say thank you from the bottom of our hearts. This is what we were meant to be and do, and it's proven itself in 20 years to be successful. So now let's go across the street and get the drinks and the food that you wanted. There's a big party waiting for us at the Roosevelt. Everyone's invited. Please come over. Thank you again.
Thank you all, and God bless you all. Thank you for coming.
Muchas gracias.